whereas usesti kade complaint. So leyo ikubeka disadvantage ukuthi company yakho compliant. You can trade with any department in South Africa apart from the city. So I think kufanele kube indlela or angafana indlela. I think masipala afana nje manje speak updates ukuthi yini abayenzayo to improve efficiency yesystem yabo because iyasi disadvantage abanye bethu. In fact abanye bethu sonke because we all get to a point whereby we are non-compliant and we need to renew our compliance. So the average period last 7 days ungakwazi ukusenda Asia, it puts you at a disadvantage. Then the second one, most of the people has ukusenda Asia. I will make an example of something when they say the people look supplier my laptop. Me as a company X, I'm registered for VAT because I'm an enterprise, which means that I'm a trader on a daily basis. So, usali is request also to get VAT. The company says, I can trade it for so you're not VAT. But if the trader or the centralization for service finance, if I'm a computer for supplier, I will 100,000 in value, 100,000 rand. Meaning, who company X is of 500,000, excluding VAT. Company Z, I will find 100,000, excluding VAT. But I said I like VAT, so it will remain as 100,000. Meaning, I'm just going to 15% VAT, which puts me as 115,000. Basically, I'm going to company Z. Whereas, you must find, you know very well which my VAT is going on. Low money, as soon as you get a company, finally get and even people, my company will comply. So I will ask to buy my VAT as my total amount. Final buy price before VAT, and that's how we compete because the things also compete VAT. Every time, and also the must buy because they claim a bit low money. I mean, I'm getting disadvantage. So now I'm going to compete. How do you bridge that gap? Because it's an end in the mind of it, there. Okwesithathu ngicela ukuthola ukuthi umasipala bakhona ngeke kwakhulunywa la ukuthi ngoba kukhona nethanda nje ngiyajabula ukuthi mostly amabhizinisi online we have a challenge to access funding. Whereby you shall have purchased all the time at the time as I man, you see, squad, so that all services squad of something. It's either is one institution in the world in terms of financing of purchase order. At the time, the court arrangement here to a deed of session, a deed of session. If funding, there must be funding, purchase order. Bayan together on the condition you would see. Umasipala wethu umasukhokha uzokhokhela direct ithana nemali abanginikeze ngekikali mina iqala kuyimali ngiyithanda. Leyo arrangement makes it easier for financial institutions ukuthi beyikhiphe imali because it gives them assurance ukuthi they will invoice umasipala directly and they are sure ukuthi imali bazoyithola back with the support in place. So masipala wethu I think go discontinue the arrangement essentially and this was why and what came to the head in place because the goal of the season of this was access financing from the institution through arrangement essentially. Then ngizwa kusisi waka engineering ngicela ukubuza la ukuthi kule msebenzi yaka architecture especially maintenance kube khona amapaneli njengoba upresentile nama contracts I think aka 3 years but leyani umsebenzi omncane umsebenzi maintenance okufanele ngabe yona umsebenzi ekhulisa ama companies amancane especially ward based companies and youth based companies leadership laphana umuntu enza ungeke washo ukuthi improve a system by introduce also ward based system ne also youth based system but isiza kuphi leyo system if
ama-departments okuyiyona anemisebenzi eminingi e-one-based kakhulu futhi bakhipha ama-contracts nama-panel for 3 years bivalele ngaphandle ama-companies angekho kuma-contracts okusho ukuthi mina uma nginenkampani ye-maintenance fanele ngilinde 3 years ukuze ngikwazi ukuba nethuba lokuthi ngibhide nakhona not ukubhida ukuthi ngingene kwi-contract yaka-maintenance or yaka-architecture or sengivala nje kwi-presentation yakho usisi engineering uthe banama-plans ukuthi ama-youth companies asuke from short-term beneficiation to a long-term beneficiation. Ngicela ukwazi ukuthi maphi lawo ma-plans specific kungasho ukuthi nama-plans kodwa angasho ukuthi maphi so that next time sikwazi uku-accountisa for lawo ma-plans. Ngiyabonga.
Dumelang bagaiso. Lebitso la ka le Mmuso Gorgeous, former Mr. DUT Diversity Beyond Limits 2024 and representing Libatho Disability. So I have 2 questions that really concern me from Kimo database registration process, self-service. What if someone with like a disability with blindness or sight or hard of hearing like wants to register a business here high, but the problem is that what if they need accessibility features to see within how it's been registered in the app itself? That's what I want to ask Upu Tobani, who was doing the presentation himself, so that how can it accommodate different disabilities, especially with hard of hearing and sights, that are trying to do it online, accessing the whole online service. And a second question I have for Law Sister Wakina, Law Teta Nyama points with disability. Lama points for a disability, I'm not even sure how much is it. Like, is it the same points muscle qualifier as when you do a business, for example? Like, is it the same point as like it was delivered GUI presentation, or is it way different on how it's been given out GUI registry? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, and again a round of applause for the colleagues that had raised questions. It was quite a handful of them. I'm hoping the administration has sort of captured some of these questions. Maybe Mezandi, let me start with you. Also, Director Spo. Also, maybe if you can just maybe tackle a few of those in general, and then we'll move along. I know there are some around late payments, Kosi. You used to wear that cap and you should still around some of the issues. So I want you to also come in at a point. But I think SCM colleagues, if they can take them, there was specific to engineering, and maybe those can be shared. Thanks, Ms. Andy.
Siyabonga kakhulu ngemibuzo very constructive. We really appreciate. Mangcobo, laba engisebenza nabo guys, but I blame all the males. Anikaze ningcobo ukuthi ngikuhle. Sengaze ngizothola la. But bayasaba ke kodwa basaba lo. Siyabonga. Compliance, deregistration. Uma ngike ngaba deregistered, ngiyakwazi ukubuyela ngibe registered and trade with any government, including the states. The answer is e-registration. Akwasi IPC, Register of Companies, is owned and controlled by them, not us as eThekwini municipality. And once you are deregistered, they kick you out of their database. Their database meaning they are saying we don't know you anymore. But my understanding is, abekho brutal, before they arrive at that decision, you are in the process of being deregistered. And they also inform us through a system that this particular company is in the process of being deregistered. If there is any work that is pending the supplier, Tina as eThekwini municipality, during the evaluation and adjudication stage, but we will not be able to proceed with the award up until you sort out your deregistration. So we are able to communicate with you. But my understanding is that once you are deregistered, you are out, you have to open another. My understanding is that once you are deregistered, you are out, you have to open another company. Ingakho kubalekile kuthiwe i-digital, ama-cell phones labo, funa sinjalo ngaso sonke isikhathi sihlale si-check-a i-status. And indaba the register of companies, CSD, Central Supplier Database, useyenze yalula kakhulu because CSD uyakwazi ukutshela ukuthi what is your status with regard to not only e-registration but your tax, your BE certificate, bayakwazi ukuthi baku-alarm. So make sure that all the time, as uNomthandazo was explaining, make sure that your profile is always in order. I-beneficiary ownership, ngicabanga ukuthi uNomthandazo uzoyi-addressa. Ngifuna ukuyikhombana le question supplier portal. Angazi noma umusukhona yini. Ngiyathanda mina ukuthi senzeni guys ama-commitments. It's not acceptable ukuthi i-company izothatha 7 days, if that is true. Izothatha 7 days ukuthi i-update on our vendor portal. I'm with them when they say, ngaleyo period, ngaleyo 7 days, I lose a lot of things. I won't even be able to participate in any SSS submission. Nomthandazo Musa, ngicela ukuthi ni address strongly leyo question yokuthi how long, what is our turnaround time? Because the understanding that we all have is that the turnaround time should be 24 hours. Unless otherwise, unless otherwise, there is more into that compliance than just simple things like tax matters. But ngizongicela uku-addressa nje lama questions khona ngizomese ngihlala phansi once. Nomthandazo, please note that. All right. Hayi sengizwile. But ngizongicela uku-addressa nje lama questions khona ngizomese ngihlala phansi once. Nomthandazo, please note that. All right. Hayi sengizwile ukuthi no ice cream obana abathanda no, but uyavuya Sibisi. I really like your products. And director Sbo, sesine office, guys, sine office ngoba sine continuous improvement. Supply chain kade ngenalo i-office laka BEE, laka Black Economic Empowerment. We were so dependent. Nana manje we regard business support. Angazi what is the annual name of the structural legislation. But we regard business support as our strategic partners. As the city, when we procure, then business supporting our entities should come on board. But Jengamanje, I hear you, and I know how brutal the market can be sometimes. You are an SMME. When I do business with you, if you know what's in the business now and holistically, whereas when you are a small enterprises, we are specialized nakama smoothies. Party can the office laga BEE lisebenza no business support. Or business support, they are responsible for issuing accreditation. Each and every business that you see la eThekwini municipal boundaries, they have been given a certificate by business support. And it's about time where Tina siba a mouthpiece yalama SMMEs, because uma ngabe Tina together with the business support sihamba siyo approach those conglomerates, those big businesses on their behalf, it's gonna carry more weight than bona bezela. Likewise with even financial institutions. All what I'm saying is that kufanele ukuthi siqinise ubudlelwano on their behalf. It's gonna carry more weight than likewise with even financial that kufanele thina as sikwazi ukumane knocka at our doors, siyakwazi ukuthi sin-assist accordingly. But for now, I'm saying umphako ukhosi Sithole uyena-ke oyi-brain behind konke lokhu. Ukhosi Sithole laphayana ekhoneni uyena futhi obhekelele umnyango waka-BEE, and i-advantage kakhulu ukuthi uphuma ka-business support. Uma ngabe ukhuluma izinto zokuthi how then do we grow the businesses, uyena alright. Ngicabanga ukuthi naye khona i-comment azokwazi ukuthi ayisho la in particular with this one. Mina ngiyawathanda ngama-small decision. Ngokunjalo ne-catering, ngithi ukhulume ngama-sponsors ne-catering. Izokulelela amanye ama-responses. I just want to make sure ukuthi konke okade kurelate kumina it has been covered accordingly. Ngicabanga ukuthi kukhona namanye ama-questions ekade relate kuma-websites ethu umphathi uzokwazi ukuthi awakhave, kodwa engifisa ukuthi ngigcizelele ngihlale ngikusho nje ukuthi we are all government. We are all government. So uhulumeni sonke, but sihlukene ngokwenza. Asikwazi ukuthi just as even kwi-website online platforms akamasipala uzoba ne-online platform yalabo aba-interested in doing in employment only. Funa ukuqashwa nathi website yakho. Uphinde futhi uzoba ne-website-ke manje yalaba abafuna ama-business opportunity. Mina ngusomabhizinisi angifune ukuqashwa manje kufanele ukuthi sibhekelele nalokho ukuthi in as much as isikade senza izinto manually kodwa sizisegregateile sazidemarcate, even noma sesimuva to online platform sesizenza digitally, kubalulekile ukuthi sizisegregate sizidemarcate ngoba zingagcina sezinikeza i-confusion. Uma ngabe kuwukuthi mhlawumbe kukhona amanye ama-questions engiwashiyile sengiyobuyela wesihlanu, kodwa kwamanje ngicela ukuthi ngihlale phansi.
Thank you, Ms. Adli. Ms. Bob.
No, ngiphinde ngibonge program director and to the youth for those questions that have been raised. I think kuyasinikeza i-indication yethemba ukuthi esikuzele lana kukhona nathi esokuthatha sibuyele nakhe emuva sibone ukuthi kuphi esingenza kangcono kona to respond better to you and create that environment esithembisene yona ukuthi we'll create an enabling environment for you to be able to take up ama-opportunities within ispace sethu. That being said, ngizozama respond to some of the questions perhaps by rounding up some of our issues. There was an issue that was raised around, and I'm hearing a number of speakers that speak of a relationship with AMA funders, and I think it's a reality. The biggest thing ebulala AMA SMEs, AMA companies are emerging, is the lack of a pipeline in terms of financing. And we have institutions that have been groundbreakers like Itala, and I believe that your other banks are also trying to break into that space. Ukuzama ukuthi azoba i-bridge in securing the existence of our SMMEs. And I want to drop back to the introduction when I did the opening address to identify the critical value or nature that our SMEs actually play in society, and we have a responsibility together as SCM and also business support to ensure ukuthi siyawavikela lawo mabhizinisi ngoba iwona akha imisebenzi. Ama-SMEs njengoba emancane they have a significant contribution to the GDP of the country. And that's not just a statistic of South Africa. The global stats is indicating that 90% of the GDP is driven by our SMEs, and 90% of our jobs are created by our SMEs. So we have a greater responsibility to sibhekelele kulezo zindawo. Umdlalo odlalwa iThala, I think muhle kakhulu, mkhulu kakhulu, and to support the work that is already being done by iThala, the concern raised around ama-sessions and us stopping ama-sessions. Yes, there was a period la siwamisile khona ama-sessions because we needed to fine-tune ama-controls within the institution, the city itself, so that we are not exposing ourselves to ama-risks that may come with the use of ama-sessions. So one can confidently report back to say ama-sessions, yes, they are alive, and asenzeka. What we have done is to improve our processes and have designed new processes on how it is you can engage in those scenarios. So iThala, if you still have a funder, we are still very much open for business. Sikwazi ukuthi sign off ama-session agreements with yourselves so that we create that sustainability and that protection for our SMEs, for which we are very much concerned and interested in protecting. The issues of security over e-data on your website here too. What one needs to perhaps assert is that processes of procurement, they are mainly centered on JDE and not so much on your website. Yes, we may have adverts that tell you of the opportunities to take advantage of. However, the real transacting is going to be happening on the JDE platform through SSS. And I can assure you of the data integrity there. And I've not heard a single person, I've had a breach. I know what has been happening on UCSD. I think a lot of people have those experiences where the information that is then being taken advantage of by those who are perpetuators of scams. I can safely say that on our side, we do not have experiences of a similar nature. There is on our side, we do not have experiences of a similar nature. There is encryptions that have been. I've touched on the issue of funding, and it goes beyond just iThala and other institutions. The issue of where is big business namhlanje? Where are the big funders? I think engagement yethu namhlanje is also intended for us ukuthi sibe nama takeaways ukuthi yini lesokuyela nayo emuva, and try to create that space for greater participation and greater sustainability of your companies. And if it means ukuthi we need, as a city with the muscle, to begin those engagements with your bigger banks, we need to be doing that in partnership with the business support. And as Umamus Tole has indicated, we've got a BE manager who has, I will say, a unique and excellent combination of skill, where she is responsible for UBE, but has a very strong background from what happens on the business support side. So she'll be able to marry that the two expertise to be able to unlock some of these things that we are speaking about here today. So I want to assure you that we will begin those engagements. And then further, the issue of, what was the other issue? Perhaps to go back, the issue of the consolidation of our procurement opportunities. The lady who came through with the idea, Smoothies, I think as an evolving city and one that is constantly looking at how it is we're improving our processes, we want to engage in, I don't know how to put it, but to look at our procurement processes and see how they interrelate with each other, our services. And I will make examples, perhaps not in the health space or the wellness space as the lady would have raised, but we are very much, and see how they interrelate with each other, our services. And I will make examples, perhaps not, view that whole value chain and say, what extractions can we make in actually making sure that we are leaving value? But over and above that, we are proactive in terms of planning of the procurement year, coupled with the strategic sourcing ideology that I've just indicated, to say we know what we are going to be spending on in the next financial year or so, or in the medium term, which is a 3-year cycle in our context. And we are then analyzing that data to say there's an opportunity for us to actually influence what then becomes the outcome or the value that we are leaving through every procurement opportunity. So if we have proactive procurement planning, you are able to say in the delivery of the 7 billion capital program of the city, we want to be very deliberate about what value we leave for the youth, what value we leave for the women, and all the other priority groupings, including your persons living with disabilities. So we are moving towards that angle to say, let's analyze the data and what are we projecting in terms of the allocation of our preference points, which are those niches that actually create a difference between how we move forward in your participation of the historically disadvantaged individuals. So I want to make that commitment to say we are analyzing the data, we are going to make sure that there's a greater participation by having deliberate targets that actually specifically would be targeting your youth, targeting your all your other specific groupings. Then we want to see an increase in participation in our procurement activities. And we speak with confidence on that, having seen the data and how our specific goals have had an impact in terms of the outcomes that have been reported by the city. Thank you. I do believe my colleague Zami will also respond on more technical questions. The issue of concern, where there's a gentleman who made a reference to our awards here to putting you at a disadvantage, wherein we take into consideration a VAT inclusive price when we are comparing a VAT registered vendor and that who is a non-VAT vendor. I think part of those engagements are still open with the National Treasury. We've had an opportunity where we've had to look at some of our processes internally that are actually not driving the outcome. I do know that the notion of the evaluation approach wherein we are supposed to be looking at our prices which are inclusive of VAT is driven not by the city but rather by legislation and our circulars and guidances that would come from the National Treasury. We have raised some of these issues in engagements in changes in legislation with them to say these are the pitfalls that are causing non-success or inability to, or rather does not encourage people to even register as VAT vendors at the end of the day because of how we are viewing our evaluations in these processes. So we will be looking into those things and seeing how we engage with the National Treasury and see how we can use our processes to add value and resolve some of the issues that you are raising.
Thank you very much for that score.
Greetings, Chairperson, and greetings to our dignitaries. Program Director, I want to take questions maybe out of the frustrations that have been raised, apologies for showing my face to the audience. Out of the frustrations that have been raised out of the systems that we have, Chair, we have a customer and supplier relations office, being it's a branch or a marketing branch of SCM, where we are taking the issues that come out of your concerns, your queries from SCM, and we are able to distribute it to the relevant platforms. For example, if you have a question around database registration, you are able to direct it to Mamzandile on the side. That office is called Customer and Supplier Relations. I believe the contact details are there. I'm saying this because some of the issues may not arrive, Program Director, today, but to know that there is an office that is dedicated to your concerns and queries and issues that you may have outside of this meeting, that you can bring it to us, Chair, and you are able to log. We are able to log those queries, Chair, and we are able to respond to them on time. We've got our turnaround for the service level agreement that tells us what we've got for the service level agreement that we are gentlemen who were inquiring around the amount of time it has taken to resolve an issue. Some of those issues are able to be directed to these officers that were able to respond to in time. We had a lot of issues, questions coming out of USSS. USSS program director is managed in 3 different divisions. I'll call them divisions for the sake of simplicity. One for Utenza, who controls USSS 4, or who manages USSS for city and citywide contracts that come out of USSS. For water and sanitation, we've got Mrs. Bongiwe Shabangu, who manages USSS on that front, and we've got Tumo Besani, I did see him at the back, who manages that on behalf of electricity. I'm raising them because we have issues where maybe you are not getting the comfort or the necessary service that you require from your buyers. These are your first measures of escalation as you escalate your issues that you've encountered with the buyers. They manage those and are able to respond to you. So on those, I'm trying to direct, because I see the focus has been the youth, and the first point of you getting opportunity through eThekwini. As you grow, you would have been exposed to USSS, and USSS is our position system, to say we've got all the support that we can provide to you to be able to take opportunities and participate in our processes, but also to be able to deal with your queries as you raise them whilst you're in the process, even post. I think Utenza did touch on raising AMA inquiries if you are having issues within a quotation which is in the system. But the act or the policy that we have in place also allows you to even raise your concerns and your complaints, even post the facts. If you've identified that you have been unfairly disqualified out of that process, you're able to come back to us and say, I feel that I've been unwrongly rejected in this process. Just can you give me or justifiable reason why you've been rejected? So these are all the processes, program director that we have in place, and also dedicated officers to be able to deal with those queries. Thank you.
No, thank you very much, Leonie. Let me then give Kosi an opportunity to respond to some of the issues around late payments, business license, and any other issues that she wants to talk to in this regard. Kosi.
Sanibonani once more. Emkhandlweni sijale uyi-observe in-protocol. I know ukuthi kukhona abaphathi deputy esinayo, deputy chair okhona. We've got our directors are present, and nama colleagues akhona la, and nani eni esingaye namhlanje. Ngihleli la phansi, one of mhlambe before ngiresponda, one of ama problems esibe nayo busy youth ukuthi sizohlangana nani. That was a difficult part because siyazi youth ayihlali. So kusho ukuthi sibize nina today to listen to your outcry, to listen to your issues, and by the end of the day we know exactly how to respond to ama issues and now. And again, I'm thinking we are talking about all these opportunities, but as where is the problem? Because as an entrepreneur, you need to be able to know the problem of what we solve for the community, or as to address some of our challenges and giving solutions to our problems. So and all that, but the intention, guys, is an opportunity that we're presenting to you. As an entrepreneur, one thing that you need to think about is the problems that solve for us, for the community. So it's an opportunity, but it's an entrepreneurship journey. That each and every one of us but what problems, what solutions am I bringing forth? To respond to the questions, the question on usise ngifuna ukubuyela kuyena uthe une opportunity yama-smoothies sibuyela kwena sisi wama-smoothies. The reason ukukhulume ngokuthi sometimes abatholi i-opportunity yokuthi ba-advertise or bathole i-opportunity yokuthi ba-showcase imisebenzi yabo. We do have a business support that mainly deals with indaba ye-space, ukuthi abantu ba-trade in the city. If you want to do any informal trading, kungaba ama-events, sometimes business support is available to assist you. But the catch is, whenever there's an opportunity for a space, siya advertise, siphume ephepheni. Bazosho ukuthi sine space eMoses Mabhida, if ne event abantu abeze to showcase or uthola ama permits, yonke leyo nto leyo yenziwa ka business support. So kukhona ama licenses for informal trade, and also those that want to do ama events or to respond kuma opportunities, uma kunama soccer games or kuma events, siyazi ukuthi vele sise ka business support, kuno licensing that does that. And there was a question also on ama late payments. We are all aware here ukuthi uqala business usebenze uletha ama funds with catering, but mase kumele uthole imali yakho uyithole nesikhathi. So I remember in 2022 ubabu kakukhona ubabu Mayor Kaunda was set up an office A127 Kasida. That office is mainly working or assisting ama SMMEs and ama issues with their invoices. Invoice yakho missing at 30 days and beyond. Kushuthi ungayithatha invoice yakho uye ku 127 bazokusiza to identify which line department ingakhokhelile, and then they will take you through process yokuthi i-payment yakhe izikhokheleke. So that information nakhona information yaka business support. I want to leave ama details for you if you are having any issues for business support ne late payments, or ngaba indaba ye issue ukuthi ufuna ukuthola ama opportunities where there's into street trading. Inamba yakhona is 311-4500 business support. Zowu lezo zinto zenziwa ka business support, and ngiyacabanga ukuthi uma unama queries ungadlulela kubona. Thank you. Ngiyabonga.
Thank you very much for those responses, colleagues. We do appreciate. I'm sensitive of time, and I must thank you, colleagues, that you have been the most patient with us. So, questions that have not been answered, please find some of the colleagues, interact with them during lunch. Ngobi has indicated email address that is available and contact details to further pursue. It's not a one-hit wonder. You have an opportunity beyond this. I'm excited with the program after lunch because it's more interactive with yourselves in terms of charting a way forward, reflecting and looking at what has been and what could have been, and more importantly, where to from here. So we'll break for lunch now. The time is 4 minutes past the hour 2. We will be back at 14:45. We will take an exciting presentation from real estate. Those that are interested or aspiring property developers emerging, you will get a sense of where things are with real estate and some of the programs they have in place in terms of advertising and tenanting some of the buildings, land for development, etc. And so let's look forward to coming back to that presentation, and we'll have an interaction with a number of colleagues. So just a running order, colleagues. We'll move from the back. Serving stations are to the right of me, it will be to the left of you. For our invited guests, your lunch is served upstairs. Thank you. We'll see you at 14:45. Facilitators, please help me round up the guys that are outside. Part of the key ingredients of successful entrepreneurs is staying power. You've got to stay the course. I'm judging by the empty seats that Ushuti Nes price quotation says I was keep or 3:30. Ushuti says I will Ganaba Balab. Bauva Balsel, Utah, Buffet, Nishe Yonanto, Ebenezer. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, can I then ask to come to stage Mayor Fatima Khan from Real Estate Department. She's going to really give us a snapshot of what it is and what it takes for our participation in the property space. Real Estate Department has been making a lot of moves in terms of disposing of properties for your benefit. So let's listen attentively and so that we can take advantage of these opportunities. Let's give her a round of applause.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's always nice to present after a full belly. I see we don't have a full crowd though. Maybe they're taking advantage of whatever they heard this morning and rushed off to do their tenders. All right, so I'm Fatima from Real Estate, and I don't have a very long presentation, and I don't want to keep you here too long. We're already over time. So before we talk about youth and focus on youth empowerment, I want to focus on stats first. And I put this up deliberately to show you what our stats look like. If you look at the numbers of properties, this was releases from 2021, right? If you look at the first column, a release of here, a number of properties, you look at the end, it's 97 properties that we took out on tender. And if you look at the column that says number of awards, at the bottom, you'll see we've only awarded 20. So imagine we're taking out 97, us as officials, we're putting in all the work, and it takes a hell of a lot of work to put in a tender. We took out 97, we only awarded 20. For us, that's terrible. For you, that's even worse, right? There were two reasons, and Zandile Sitole went through one of them thoroughly. And the first one is that people don't know how to bid. And that's why Zandile Sitole went through that process. How do you bid? People don't put in proper bids, and you get excluded unnecessarily. As young people, we're asking you to focus on the documents that's there, the MBDs. Fill it out properly so that you have your foot in the door, you have a chance. Okay, that's very important. The second one, which is most important, and Afrika has touched on that, is people don't have the capital. And they don't meet our fundamental, or what we call mandatory requirement, which is the funding requirement. That's very important because I'm dealing with property. And with property, you need funding, right? So on the next slide, this is also one that's a very interesting slide that I chose. It's the breach front lease demographic profile. And if you look, it's this is from 2021, from our first release in 2021. Africans, it's 5%. African and Indian, 5%. This is the ownership profile on the beachfront. Prior to 2021, by the way, African was 0%. After our first release, we got it up to 5%. So we're looking at equitable access to land and equitable access to property before we can even look at youth, unfortunately for you. Transformation. As Sandile Sitole said, if you don't make a move now, the other races are going to overtake you. So make your move, do it, we want to help you. So we realize that ordinary people can't afford purchasing property, right? So for us, we said the long-term leases, we're going to use it as a tool to facilitate equitable access to land. Because you can't afford to buy land, you can't afford to rent, you can't afford to lease. Especially the beachfront properties, because those are lower value properties. When it comes to the higher value properties, again, you're going to have a lot of challenges when it comes to funding, because the higher value properties are the vacant land where we want malls and shopping centers and all kinds of factories, and that requires more capital. It's capital intensive. But we found that leasing really is a much more affordable way to enter the property market. And this is where we can play, we as real estate can play a role in empowering our youth, especially on those lower value properties. Then in my next slide, I put the demographic profile. This is as at March 2025. You can see that African is now going up to 28%. And 10% of that, mind you, is youth. Okay, we had 0% in 2021. So that's up 20%. Not fantastic, but it's a start. The difficulty with property is that it requires capital investment from the bidders. And we've mentioned that with many of the speakers now, right? You're going to have a problem. So the lower value properties is where you can accommodate our youth. And it's where we attract the new entrants into the property market. And the lower value properties happen to be our beachfront properties. The problem when it comes to real estate is that all those figures that you see there, that you see up here, they're all male dominated. So we have an overrepresentation of males. So in our next two beachfront property releases, which is the Joint and California Dreaming, see, I'm giving you a tip so you know you can prepare. In our objective criteria, we will give preference to female-owned companies, employees, and then there's the old afros. You can see what it looked like. Actually, that's a good picture of what it looked like. When I did a site inspection, it was all busted. And it's now up and running. It's another youth investment. And our next releases. Here you can see how, just to give you a taste of what we're releasing next. Right, so you know what we're doing on the beachfront and where we're coming from. Okay, and that's it from me. Unfortunately, we have to do what we have to do. Youth empowerment. You're going to have to come to me with some capital. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that, Fatima. You must make sure, please. We can't have 97 properties and lease only 20. And you are saying on the other side of the fence, we are looking for opportunity. Engage Itala. Don't wait for the bid to come out. Talk to Itala Bank. Go to ABSA. Go to FNB. Go to Nedbank. Go to Ompit even. They Ompit, man, I'm seeing this thing, can we partner? Go and find an existing restaurant that's been operating and say, there's an opportunity I want to pursue on the beachfront. Can you support me in doing that? Otherwise, these things will simply come and go and pass you by. What will you say you did in your youthful years? Ayinabungozi lento bafethi ithatheni. Thatha lento mfethu awu. Kanti maningayifuni ithathe ubani? But we'll come to that engagement. Can I request electricity department? Maybe we need to light them up a bit. Because these young people seem to be on the evening of their youth. Can you please light them up? Let's welcome Utu Mompeta to stage. Thank you very much.
Is my no, but I've got it even on my stick. Pardon me for a quick minute. It appears they don't have my presentation, but fortunately I've got it on a memory stick. Program Director, let me observe the protocol. Program Director, say to the young people, or let me share a story. A certain friend of mine once told me this very interesting story, and you'll understand why I'm sharing this story with you. As it's portrayed in front of you, my name is Timon Betani and I'm representing electricity. The story goes as thus. He tells me that his daughter attended a university, and after the first 3 months, the daughter was complaining bitterly about how tough the course and the subject are, and how their lecturer told them that statistics are showing that at the end of the 3rd or the 4th year, only about 30% of the students graduate. And according to him, his daughter was very discouraged because the course was indeed tough, and she was indicating that, you know what, instead of wasting the 3 years or the 3.5 years, why try and go ahead with this thing when chances are very high that I may not make it at the end and graduate? And this friend of mine tells me that he told his daughter, or rather he asked, what percentage did you say your lecturer is saying normally completes? She said anything between 30 and 40%. And he said to his daughter, but why don't you aim to be part of that 30 to 40% that graduate after 3 to 4 years? And you will understand why I'm bringing this story. That's basically what I'll be presenting on. Just to explain, the first 3 slides will explain the energy business, which is the electricity where I'm from. As you can see, those 2, 4, 5 levels of energy that we supply, all the way up to us giving you electricity in your household, the street lights, I think that's what most of you will be familiar with. This is the area that has electricity across eThekwini. If you go up north, we go up to Tongat. You go south up to Magabeni, and you go west is actually Mpumalanga, because east is the sea. And that's our business model as electricity. So we basically we buy bulk electricity from Eskom. They meter it on their side, and we meter it on our side. And then stepping it to our different customers. You'll see, I think most of you will be there on the last one that says consumer, where we measure what we supply to a household and the infrastructure thereof, which is where you come in now, is what makes up that electricity. The cables, the lines, the transformer, the poles, the meters, anything electricity is what my unit buys, and related services to electricity is what we buy. Services I'm talking about, you may have seen contractors. In most cases, they are dressed in red overalls. Most of them, in fact, all of them are contracted to eThekwini Electricity. They are doing work on behalf of us, more like extension of our own staff members. I won't go much into the service charter. There is a saying that if you want to have a lasting influence upon the world, you must invest in people's lives. And if you want to maximize that investment, then you must invest in those people while they are young. And I think that is referring to you. I remember I said, I'm not going to do a conventional presentation, but mine is going to be more indicating that despite the previous speakers that came before me that said, the council is trying, the council has a lot of programs, I think mine is going to talk mainly to saying there is still a long way for us to go, especially as young people. And you'll see with the slides that will come why I'm saying that. I think with this particular slide, the question that we have to ask ourselves, especially as the leadership of the city, is, are we doing enough to invest in our youth? Those in the administration of the city would understand, and they know that as government, we are meant to be influencing the patterns of spending. But my question still remains, are we doing enough? And you will understand why I'm asking those questions. Let's look at the statistics. We roughly plus minus as a country, some will argue that it's standing at around 61 million, of which 21 million are young people. If you look at that figure, it's just slightly higher than a third of our population is young people. As some of you may be aware, in the entire world, Africa and Asia to an extent, we have the biggest percentage of young people in the world. Coming back to us as a country, or let me take it to KZN, the same percentage is reflected. So those figures that I'm showing there, you will look more at the numbers of the youth. But look at the last one, which is very scary. Official figures from Statistics South Africa are saying unemployment overall is anything between 34 and 37%, even though some are arguing that these figures are actually higher than that. The one that I'm referring to that I said is very scary is the youth. The fact that as a country we have over 60% of our youth as unemployed means that we are sitting on a ticking time bomb. Some of you may have seen on social media a discussion that took place last week, wherein a certain billionaire from Cape Town, Rob Hertzog, had a discussion with one former ETV news anchor. They were arguing that he was being told, in fact, that with the levels of unemployment that we have in South Africa, what you saw happening in your Egypt, Morocco, and the Arab world, which was termed Arab Spring, we're not far from it if nothing happens in our own country. It's for that reason that I said, you will realize why I was relaying a story of a friend of mine who had his daughter at university, and I think I said to you, it's tough out there. These are the statistics as far as electricity is concerned. I noted that the previous speakers indicated that for the entire city, their statistics are far higher than what I'm portraying here for the electricity unit. This could be attributed to a number of factors. That electricity as a unit, as a commodity, is a very dangerous commodity. And as such, a requirement for anyone who wants to enter the sector, I'm talking just from working as an electrician, some of you are aware that the amount of training that one has to undergo. And I'm talking even the items that we are using as an electrical or an electricity unit. There is a lot of compliance issues. We do not just take any item off the shelf and use it. In most cases, for those of you who have had a chance to look at our RFQs, look at our tenders, we're always referring to compliance documents. I'm talking your SABSs, your international NEPs, etc. The reason I said my presentation is going to be slightly different to the previous speakers is not to shock you in any way, but it's basically to say, as the city or as the unit, there is still much more to be done. Let's look at those figures. As far as tenders are concerned, and thanks to a colleague of mine, Ms. Nonhlanhla Mbongo, sitting here in front, that upload the figures, you will note that just under 4% was spent on youth, which we are all agreeing after seeing the unemployment statistics that is totally unacceptable. And talking to my SCM executive, I'm looking at my head as well. When we talk of SCM enablers, I think that we should seriously consider legislation. We often, especially in the public space, we talk of technology, people, processes, etc. As I said, despite certain programs, despite efforts that the city is taking, I think looking at those numbers, you would agree with me that we still have some way to go. I mean, I saw earlier when a question was posed to the young people that were sitting in this hall, I was sitting right at the back. Numbers were being spoken of. I think program chair was talking about 7 billion. We're talking about $1 billion here. And the young people were asked, how much of that money are your companies taking part in? How much are you benefiting And I didn't see no hand, in fact. I think when people were asked about being registered on SSS, there was, I think, 3 hands changed, because I was sitting right at the back and I observed only 3 hands went up. So, in as much as there are those millions and billions that we are talking of, good people, I think I'm here to say, we sitting here, we still have to go back and face the same challenges of being hungry, of struggling. Yet we come from a workshop where we were told that the city is spending, or is going to spend, a budget of 63 billion as youth of eThekwini. I'm not sure, I'm not trying to scare you in any way, but I'm also saying, hence I said, I'm looking at my leaders, they're sitting right in front here. Mr. Mahlam, I think I did sensitize you when we were having lunch that mine is going to take a slight turn in terms of the presentation. There are possible opportunities in the electric sector. Let's look at economic empowerment. As we have said, direct procurement opportunities for youth-owned enterprises. There is electrical infrastructure projects, maintenance and repairs, supply of materials and equipment. In terms of skills, for those who are aware, in Springfield we have our own accredited training center. There are many training programs for those that are interested in the space. There are apprenticeships that the unit is offering. Every year we take a number of young people that come and train. I'm told that since that program started, for years we were always absorbing all the apprenticeships. And I think the last one is a collaboration with financial institutions to provide access to capital for young people like yourself. I've heard good stories about Itala. I personally have had few interactions with certain financiers wherein when not just young people, but when a supplier has an order from the municipality, we are either able to assist in the process in terms of availing documentation if they want to apply for money with those institutions, or the easier route that we normally follow is using the sessions wherein we sign with those that give you money to say, look, you have an order with guaranteed work, but we will then ensure that they get paid first when we're doing the payment. In as much as I do not have the numbers, but I did indicate that we have a training center in Springfield, and there is a number of people that have gone through that center that have been trained. But once again, if you look at the number of people that came here versus those that are benefiting from a lot of our programs, you will note that what we are doing, we still really have a long way to go. I will focus on challenges there. A lot of projects that you see across the city, they need a lot of money. It's big projects, we are talking about tens and sometimes even hundreds of millions. So that is a challenge in itself in that young people, because I think there are some speakers that also spoke about issues of funding, which becomes a challenge in many instances. And Mezanile Stole, under you, I think issues such as stronger enforcement when we talk about CPG. That would help us as a city to go a long way, because we do have CPG requirements. And I'm encouraged because during the break or during lunch, I heard the head of SCM saying that going forward, she will be chatting to departments about initiatives, or rather increasing initiatives that will support youth. And in as much as we have subcontracting at the moment as the municipality, but again, as Bo, what you just said up when we were having lunch there talks to this last point, wherein we encourage and maybe sort of enforce subcontracting more strictly to you, maybe sort of enforce subcontracting more strictly to you, to youth. What you just said up when we were having lunch there talks to Chairperson. That concludes my presentation.
Another round of applause. No, thank you very much, Tumo, for that. I think you hit a few salient points that must be captured and really attended to. But I think equally so, once the city and all of its government partners look to these efficiencies and look to the intentionality of supporting young people must also rise to the occasion. If part of this program had budgeted for at least one job per young person who's here, so long as you are compliant, many of you would have left empty-handed. Can we reverse that? Because so much as we can try and see how these opportunities become available, you've got to be ready to receive. You've got to be ready. And the more you start to move, the more you understand and the more you begin to unlock. Now, with that being said, I would like to ask Ukosi to come up to stage so that she can introduce one or two youth businesses that have taken up the baton and have heeded the call, met with disappointment, but continue to soldier on. Let's give Ukosi a round of applause.
Afternoon. My one is very short. I'm asked to do an introduction to I'll call them our panelists, not a panelist, our service providers who have made it, I think. And we requested them to come and share some stories in terms of opportunities, the challenges, as well as the bottlenecks, when it comes to procurement opportunities or any other procurement element that is still, thriving for. So we have requested Usisnogazi, a bias, she's a Sitole, and we're not related. It happens, guys. This is our World Day. Ngizocela Usisnogazi to come forth just to tell us your story, the good, the bad, and the ugly. As well, on the other side, we're having Usiswetu from Umhlanga Development. Just after Usisnogazi, I would request you to come on stage and share your good, the bad, and the ugly. And I know you're one of our suppliers at Tegani, so we pride ourselves that you are here to share your stories in terms of the frustrations you had and the lessons that you have with doing business with eThekwini. And up to you, Nawazi. Thank you.
The other name is Nokululeko, which I think is Kosi Mpambanisanokwazi. So yes, same's the name, not related. So I'm the founder and director of Lunyezi Farms. Lunyezi Farms is a poultry farming business. We are based here in KZN, Kwangolosi, which is just outside of Cresti. We are producing chicken meat and we are also producing table eggs. We started the business in 2021 with the aim of tackling against poverty in our communities, the unemployment, as well as unhealthy food intake due to affordability. We all know, because when I started my business, I started with producing chicken meat. I understood in our communities they would rather bathenge inyama engekho right because of the affordability. And then I thought, why not start something that will provide a solution in the community and become that beacon of hope in my community, or become a catalyst and be the solution, meaning when I wanted to see it. So we raised inkukhu from day-old chicks. So we are running an incubation whereby fertile eggs and then produce chicks. Mase siwaproduce lama chicks bese siyawakhulisa lama chicks to produce inkukhu. Inkukhu ke sibe sisislaughterisha futhi at our on-site abattoir to produce inkukhu, inyama yenkukhu, and then we have chicken ama layers where we produce our own eggs. So we are so honored to be part of the program Lena, and I have already sengitholile usizo sesingenile ka Triple S already, because we have our documents. Engikubone kubalekile kakhulu ukuthi ube compliant so that when you find opportunities ube ready ngaleso sikhathi. So thank you so much ukuthi SCM assistile wethu register with Triple S, so sesiphakathi ke ngicabanga ukuthi nje kusasa ekseni mina nawo. Also, because this is an opportunity, because this is an opportunity to show or to share challenges that we face as small businesses, especially in rural areas. So I've never benefited from Umaspal, but I have had engagements with Umaspal. So in the realize ugcina sesidigibele ukwenza izinto nomasipala ngenxa yokuba disappointed. So ended up ukuthi sengitshela ukuthi nje vele into ehlangene nomasipala mhlawumbe kufuna ngiyiqhiranise na just to avoid disappointment, because okokuqala ebengade ngishilo ngathi ngizokumenshina is the fact that ama-departments akhona kamasipala sometimes they don't assist us as much. I registered because ngangikade ngitshelwe ukuthi for my business to be recognized as a business, grow out from working from home and go and find a place that I am self-funded. Ngaphuma ekhaya, ngahamba ngayozama indawo, ngayithola indawo, ngasebenza, ngapush business just because I wanted to be commercial. And kuze kube namhlanje anginawo ugesi when we all know ukuthi inkukhu is dependent on electricity. Worse ngiyahecha futhi and I don't have electricity. Self-funded, ngafuna ama solar ukuze ngikwazi ukwasebenzisa. They are not enough for a production esengikuyona. And right now I think charging lights nje rechargeable light, because sithi ngikholela ukuthenini whatever engificayo engifice sengisendleleni sengikhona ngiqalile sengikwenza. But when you do a follow-up indawo iminyaka eminingi othi uyangqongqoza kuyona kamasipala uthola ukuthi ayiphenduli ngale ndlela esifuna ngayo, okugcina sekusicindezela thina as small businesses. Uyabona nje indaba yakhe I think I registered ngo-March. Mangithi ngiyahamba ngiyobuza ukuthi kwenzakala na-customer service, they will tell me ukuthi kunogogo abagula abadependent kugesi ukuze bathole i-medication, so istori zakhe nje ngasichaza kangakanani. So yabo, and then it becomes so draining. Kodwa with that being said, ngicabanga ukuthi i-platform elandelayo izosiza ukuthi mhlawumbe mase be-organizer u-SCM ubize namanye ama-departments that can assist us so that we are able to move forward. Because uSisikhosi mentioned business support. Izinto ey'ningi kukhona umuntu okhulume about i-access to funding here. Izinto ey'ningi zidinga ukuthi ama-department wonke ahlangane so that we are able to move forward, ngoba kuzongisiza ngani vele ukuthi ngi-aplayele izinto where else I'm unable to supply. Njengokuthi bekune opportunity yama chicken houses ase Cato Ridge awaka when I applied for that, I applied for the tender. Kwafika point whereby sekufanele ngiprovide proof of imali enginayo to start working ema-farming lawa ase Cato Ridge through agribusiness. And kudingeka imali engango-350,000 akufanele ngiyiproduce within that week i-proof yokuthi nginayo leyo mali leyo. So I think ngayiluza kanjalo because that was the stop or the end of communication yami no agribusiness for that opportunity, which means ngayiluza kanjalo i-opportunity yokutenderize with agribusiness. So if they could come and say, okay, umasipala unale opportunity, but sivuleleni futhi neminyango yokuthi sikwazi uku-excel ama-opportunities. Kodwa-ke, with all that being said, I am part of umasipala and I am providing a solution to a problem esibhekene nayo sonke as umasipala. So siyacela ningasivaleli ngaphandle, and when these opportunities present themselves again, I would appreciate ukuthi sibe nama-stakeholders wonke azokwazi ukusilekelela ukuze siye forward. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Sanibonani, njani? Sanele igama lami nguNoluthando Ntuthu. I am the founder and director Yamhlanga Development Services. Our company is a town planning, property development, urban design and project management company. So we do a lot of work with a number of stakeholders, private, public, and different professionals within the built environment. So basically we're under the umbrella the built environment. So I established my company in 2019. I think I do have experience within the private sector doing the work that I do, but I think it was just time for me to, step out of the comfort zone and start my own business. And like Sisi had said, with starting my business, I did not have any capital. But I think for me, what was within the business that I am in, the skill and the knowledge of the business serves you as well in terms of being able to either start and then continue with something that you're doing. So I do work like eThekwini municipality, but I also do work outside of the KZN province. So we do work in the city of Johannesburg, city of Tshwane, Northwest Province, Brits, as well as in Rustenburg. So we do have quite a lot of projects within the private sector and within the public sector. But because we are focusing on public sector today, we are, General Nkosi had said, we are appointed for a number of projects within umasipala. So I think one of the projects was mentioned by the ladies in Chongweni. We have been appointed for that, and then some other projects in Kwamnyandu, Mlazi, as well as Uchenod, which is also Mlazi. So I think for us, I've gone quite far with the business, but I feel like if I had this opportunity when I started the business, it would have been so great because I've just had to do most of the things by myself. So for example, izinto like registering with CSD, registering with CIPC, registering with SARS, And all of those processes, I had to research and do a whole lot of things in order to be able to just register the company. And I always believe, if you're not compliant, I think as all the speakers have said, if you're not compliant, you can't apply. If you can't apply, you won't get appointed. So I think that's the number one maybe thing that I would like to say something issue here is just that those compliance processes are so important, and then being able to go within the measures of compliance. So we do a whole lot of work with land surveyors, we do a lot of work with civil engineers, environmentalists, conveyancers, urban designers, social facilitators, project managers. So mostly with the projects that we are running right now, we are a multidisciplinary team. So it's not just myself, but it's a number of other team members that are within the team as well. So I think, like I said before, in order to be able to get these opportunities, compliance requirements are, you just have to meet them. So go as far as asking someone that has done this before, attend supplier readiness sessions like this one, although this is my first one. Maybe the municipality should do a bit more in terms of advertising these kind of opportunities. Using tools, checklists, keeping up with your profile up to date, and then I'd also just recommend Utumaspala to be able to provide links to the different platforms that they've spoken about. So you've seen with SSS, they've said you obviously need to work when you CSD are up to date, your tax must be up to date, your BE certificates and all these other documents have to be up to date. But I don't know if there is links on that portal. It was the direct. If you're an CSD, here's a link to CSD that will direct you to where you need to go. If you have SARS compliance, here's a link to SARS or whatever the case may be that will then direct you to that particular SARS compliance registration site. If you're CIPC or you haven't registered your company at all, then you can have that link readily available within their system as well. When just a bit more easier for the youth and youth entrepreneurs. Because also if you look at it, if I have to go to 5 or 6 different places to get these compliances, what are the chances of me just giving up and saying, I'm not going to do this anymore because I have to travel to all of these places, or I have to communicate with so many other people in order just for me to get this one thing. So I think because most of them, they're online, and most of them you're able to interact with them online instead of going around and asking questions and asking people. So I think that's one example. I think in Masipala that does a good job with that is City of Johannesburg. So maybe those case studies like eThekwini can have a look at their websites and how it's structured, or their system and how it's structured, and how user-friendly kanjani. But maybe to also add, okay, I did talk about opportunities that we have, Jongweni, JNOD, as well as Wamnyani. So in that process of, when we were going through the procurement process, yakhona, it was, I can say it was difficult because number one, RFQ, reading through that RFQ document as a youth entrepreneur, you have to be able to just go through each and every document, like maybe Shiloma is BD forms. You have to be able to read through all those documents and understand what is going on there. So that's number one. So being able to go through a whole RFQ is quite important. And then putting a team together. So for the different projects that I'm in right now, I think we have a team of about around 5 to 6 professionals in each team. And in each team, that professional has to meet the requirements of the RFQ and of that particular tender that is put out. So making sure that each and every team member actually complies with those requirements is also another it's not a hurdle, but it's almost like one of those things that you have to go through in order to be able to get to a point of a successful submission and appointment, and then preparing proposals as well. So in our field, with the built environment, we have to prepare a proposal. So you have to state, if I am going to be appointed for a precinct plan within Kwamnyandu area, how am I going to be able to implement that plan? So from start to finish, you have to write, from inception, what am I going to be doing in inception? What am I going to be doing with status quo? What am I going to be doing at the end? We close out. So how do we close out the project and how do we put it all together? So those are also some of the challenges that you face, or some of the things that you have to write. So proposals, which also takes quite some time. And then the submission of RFQ, I think that speaks of time, timeless submissions, and it speaks on, I don't know, I think Masipala also needs to do a bit more when it comes to time frames, because sometimes you get a proposal or an RFQ, and then the time frame that you have to prepare the RFQ and the time frame that you have to submit it is like very, very limited. So imagine putting together a team of 5 or 8 people, getting CVs of 5 to 8 people, getting their documents together, getting all of them certified within a period of a week or something like that. So those are all some of the challenges that we faced with submission of these tenders, and which we still are facing now, because we do still submit tenders within this municipality and other municipalities as well. But yeah, I think that's, on my side, that's basically all in Yiwonayo. But I think the recommendations that I would give out to Masipala and maybe anybody that does want to follow through with processes of application. I think we also, when I can't remember the lady's name, but when she was going through RFQ and Mangaki on that list. So you can see because the opportunities are there. But the reality is that sometimes we miss out on them because of compliance challenges, and sometimes we miss out on them because we are not aware of them. So in terms of compliance processes, I think I did give a sort of a recommendation on what the municipality can do. Their websites must be more interactive than they are just filling out forms. Submit this, submit that, but interaction. In order to get this, you can go there and then you can get it. Another challenge or another recommendation is that the municipality does need to create spaces for new and emerging businesses in terms of access going beyond uploading tenders online. So we need systems that actively reach out to the youth through community networks, social media, as well as these local workshops. And I think who spoke about this, he touched on the new improvements that may be coming in with the SSS system. And I saw one of the improvements, which are providing a more interactive support structure for that platform. And I think that also speaks to those opportunities. And then further, once appointed, I think one of the guys spoke about it, so limited cash flow, as well as faster payment times, as well as faster turnaround times when it comes to IT and ICT departments and the way their systems work. Because I also just think in these platforms like this, if you're going to be using online systems, there has to be somebody within the municipality that represents IT or ICT, so that they are able to then address the more technical related matters. If I'll just give an example, the way the guy also gave an example. There was once where I submitted an invoice, like it was a biggish invoice. But if Wasazi, you are submitting a document, let's say for your employee, like you pay or something like that, so there's a time frame that you submit those documents and then USARS approves them. So within that time frame, the system didn't pick up, I'm compliant, but it was still showing as non-compliant. So basically we lost like a week or two of payments of an invoice that was supposed to be paid because of those discrepancies and those things that just need to be updated. But I think overall, I've had a good experience with Masipala and the procurement process. It's just those minor challenges that need to be taken care of, and I think some of them are actually being taken care of. And I think it's just also the process of decision making. It must be a bit more transparent. Why was this particular business chosen for this particular tender instead of me? So I think just these where we probably need assistance with. But besides that, I think we've had a good experience besides those minor changes. But yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mhlanga Development. We now know of a new consultant, and we'll definitely be on the lookout for your work, and we'll definitely support. I think let's give them a round of applause. We've had, these are not, sometimes when you are not participating, there's an experience. They are still doing it without the support. They have not stopped knocking. It has not deterred them. They are still pushing. They are in the system. It's not without its problems, but they are persisting. So thank you for staying the course. At least his stats has got to do give us an indication small that we may just have enough youth to push the numbers, whether it's on property, whether it's electricity, whether it's a number of departments. So I'm hoping, Kosi, that you will be taking those registers and you will be translating them into an informal database and encourage them and engage so that we see them translate from where they are to ultimately participation and beneficiation from this 7 billion rand going forward. But otherwise, at this stage, I'd like to call on the Director, SCM. She'll reflect on the day and also give vote of thanks, and we will officially close our session. Thank you very much. You have been an excellent audience, and I do appreciate that out of a full room, we still have a significant number. To our guys on Facebook that have joined us online, thank you for staying the course, and we do hope that you will translate the information that you've received today into meaningful action tomorrow. Mesmo, over to you. Another round of applause. Thank you.
Good afternoon once again, ladies and gentlemen. I see the room has reduced in size, but quite hopeful and still excited by the fact that before we took on lunch, we still had a full bench of participants. Program Director, let me firstly greet you once again, and let me take this opportunity to thank each and every one of you for taking the first step towards unlocking opportunities for your business. This workshop has truly been by the youth and for the youth. Apologies. And this is demonstrated through the sourcing approach that has been used today, with logistics and services procured from youth-owned enterprises. I want to commend the SCM team and the Youth Office for showing that the inclusion we speak of is not just aspirational, it is real, practical, and achievable. I'd also like to recognize and applaud our youth exhibitors who showcase their products and offerings. Your presence today is inspiring. It is proof that the youth can and are participating actively in shaping our economy. I encourage everyone to visit their stands to learn more about their work and to support them where possible. I've already made a commitment in Koletu 70 Rand we're Chakul. I'd also, to our partners, I just want to extend an appreciation to our